Welcome to the Asian Post.
According to an article published in the New York Times named Aung San Suu Kyi and her generals, as if she controlled army generals. The fact is she does not but has to take all the blame for what they do. 2 months after the Rakhine imbroglio boiled into a major regional crisis after so-called jihadi attacks on 24 to August 25 on 30 police station and 1 military base, the lady has been fighting a silent battle to control her generals, at whose orders troops of the Burmese army went berserk in Rakhine, torching Rohingya villages, killing civilians, raping women, and even throwing children in fire. Against the wishes of all-powerful generals, she instituted the 9-member commission headed by former UN Secretary-General Kofi Annan, 6 of whom were Burmese and only 3 foreigners. Again, against the wishes of the men in uniform who have ruled Myanmar since 1962, Suu Kyi accepted Annan Commission's recommendations and promised to set up an inter-ministerial committee on August 24 to implement those. But when so-called ARSA fighters attacked 30 police stations and the military base in northern Rakhine, may be plotted by generals, within hours of Kofi Annan's meeting, the game slipped out of Suu Kyi's hands. Authoritative sources in Myanmar government say the generals, 3 of them hooding the crucial portfolios of defense, home, and border affairs in her cabinet, put their foot down and told the lady, as they refer to her, to let them handle a national security situation. For a while, the lady lost her script, weighed down by not only the generals but an inflamed public opinion manipulated skillfully by Buddhist hardline nationalists. Here lies the paradox. The lady could have told the generals the attacks happened because they failed, because their intelligence network in Rakhine came a cropper, or else how could a relatively poorly trained jihadi group like the ARSA pulled off coordinated attacks on 30 police stations and a military base killing 12 to 13 security men? Such an operation would have been planned for months, not weeks, and would have involved considerable mobilization of fighters and armed villagers especially between 22 to August 24. So, if that is missed, one can safely surmise the Burmese military as well as civilian intelligence totally failed. But if one were to understand the dynamics of Burmese government and the way the army and the NLD is involved in a tussle for control, they would stay away from taking unnuanced positions like making demands for stripping Suu Kyi of her Nobel Prize. But though the furious global criticism may have somewhat dented Suu Kyi's global image, it has helped her in her desperate bid to control the army. Top government sources say a recent high-level meeting with army found the civilian ministers of NLD and the generals in charge of the 3 crucial ministries taking on each other over possible implications of the global criticism. Some ministers raised the scare of fresh sanctions. Others spoke of possible cut-down in development aid and a few raised the issue of the impact of the Rakhine crisis on the ceasefire process that involves negotiations with much stronger rebel groups but has been cold-storaged after late August. Suu Kyi has been able, through her loyal NLD ministers, get it across to the army that they have to exercise restraint in counterinsurgency operations, and the government has to start the process of taking back Rohingyas, even if it began as trickle. That, she reasoned, would deflect some criticism from the global community, including the UN and the West, which once treated Suu Kyi as a darling and a pro-democracy icon but have been scathing in their criticism belatedly. A top secretary told that Suu Kyi was somewhat rattled when Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina returned home and alleged that Myanmar has been trying to provoke a war. Avoiding a conflict with Bangladesh is important for Suu Kyi because a war would mean playing into the army's hand. The longer the crisis lingers in Rakhine, and surely if there is a military confrontation with Bangladesh, the better the chance for the army to create grounds for a regional emergency that is prelude to a quasi-military rule that NLD pro-democracy hardliners feel may provide opportunity for a return to power for the army by the back door. A top NLD leader, on condition of anonymity, made it clear that Suu Kyi and her party, though mindful of the threat of a regional jihad, were keen to use negotiations and peaceful means to end the crisis before it spun out of control. He said the military has been told of the dangers of sanctions and the adverse economic impact of the Rakhine crisis that may drive up unemployment and create unrest across the country. The corridors of power in Naypyidaw is abuzz with the silent wrestling for influence between Myanmar's ruling party and its embattled leader on the one hand and the still powerful military on the other. During a forum on Myanmar's democratic transition in August, military participants made it clear the army was reconciled to working under a civilian government. That may be true, but attempt to supreme control on army is a fact of big risk. So, observers from various countries are saying that the civilian government is strongly controlled by generals. And the generals are following the economically profitable way showed by powerful countries for handle the crisis. So, we can say that Suu Kyi, once who was renowned as the Mandela of Asia, is turned as the Dracula of Asia for Myanmar's ethnic cleansing operations in Rakhine State. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more.